First create a character, you must first make sure that it's interesting. It can relate to the audience and is fairly familiar. A good example of a character to follow would be Iron Man. He's a hero, everybody enjoys a good hero. Even though sometimes he may see bad and wrong. You always want to follow him because he's the good guy. There's nobody else but the good guy to follow.
Next thing we're going to talk about is conduct. Conduct means behavior of a character. With conduct, the audience can understand the character's feeling without any sound. The conduct may be shown by the face of a character or the body language of a character. For example, in Rush Hour, everybody knows that Jackie Chan is serious when he's fighting, by his facial expression, like he's in a serious mode. The context of a movie is usually the structure and how well each part goes together. A story and a problem usually can differ wildly depending on the setting. When telling a story, do not spoon-feed the audience details. Leaving out parts makes for great thought-provoking times, and it is greatly attention-grabbing. One good example of this is the Harry Potter series. Each movie has some parts left out once in a while, but then these parts are all filled in the next.
Hello, I'm here to talk to you about the narrative arc. The narrative arc mainly has 7 parts, as you can see. These 7 parts, the first one is the introduction. The introduction deals with the character's background and the background of where they come from. The second part is the conflict. This is the introduction to the main problem that is being dealt with in the actual movie. Third, the rising action. The rising action is when the character is overcoming obstacles and they are leading up to the climax. The climax is the main part of the movie with all of the bangs, and it's when the actual problem is resolved. This is about overcoming the conflict itself. The next part would be the falling action, and that is the immediate effects of the climax. And it normally has to do with not long-lasting effects, but the smaller effects of the climax, as I said before. And the next part will be the resolution, and that has to do with the overall overarching theme, and it has to do with the morals that the actual film is presenting, as well as the conclusion. Normally, a twist is put in anywhere in the narrative arc. So, and a good example of this is the Avengers. The Avengers, you see them in the introduction, and you see them basically going about on their normal lives. The next part is the conflict. It's showing the Tesseract being stolen from S.H.I.E.L.D. The rising action. This has to go with when S.H.I.E.L.D. is being attacked and they are fighting against them. And the climax is when Iron Man flies and he pushes the missile out of the way. The falling action, actually in the climax, the twist is when Iron Man actually comes down without dying. The falling action is the immediate effects, the destruction of New York perhaps, and as well, and then next would be the resolution and saying that the Avengers will always be there to help people.
I'm going to talk about the conduction next. Conduction is pretty much the entrance of the story. It's the telling of the story. It's what makes the story interesting. Like in Iron Man 2, he had to be able to overcome his sickness of taking on the cord, so he found a new cord. Also, like in the Hulk, he had to overcome his anger and figure a way to live with it and still protect all of his loved ones.
core elements of filmmaking or drama. It's usually happen because of opposition or opponent or hardship. This makes the film more interesting, and the audience can be more goes into the film. For example, in Kung Fu Panda, Fogg cannot do kung fu. He's in despair. This is the one of the conflict that goes with himself. He also has conflict with Shifu for not being able to do kung fu. So Shifu thinks Fu never can do kung fu in his life, but so Shifu does not like Fu.
The crutch. Objects can vastly affect a plot. If you collaborate with items, it will make your story rich and complex. A crutch is an item or few items that usually represent the main character and greatly affect the plot. When using items in your story, please remember the order of importance of your items. A good example of this is the last Indiana Jones movie. Without the crystal skull, there's no story, there's no plot, the movie is just an empty shell.
I'm going to talk to you about the film structures generally seen in any good movie. There are three main film structures. There's the linear film structure, there's the circle film structure, and there's the spiral film structure. A linear film structure, it normally has one point, and that point, it drives it forward in a linear motion with causes and effects that you can see a clear, as I said before, linear path. And you can see this in the Avengers. There's the cause for them fighting. The Tesseract is stolen. Then you have the effect. Loki gets more power. As Loki gets more power, he gets harder to fight, and so on. The next film structure that is typically seen is the circle film structure. And this film structure has a beginning scene, and you take it through different events of the movie to come back to that scene. A good example of this would be Inception. Inception begins with Leonardo DiCaprio waking up in the beach, and you basically see a bunch of events that led him towards the beach, and in the end, you see him again waking up in the beach and resolving the conflict. The third film structure is the spiral film structure, and most of the spiral film structure is flashbacks. The beginning part is in real time and it gives a background, while most of the thing is a flashback, and the end, it has the last event that moves the story forward and we come to the climax. Thank you.